everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Political Vigilante, making Gotham great again. Bringing the truth and the justice, folks. That's what we do, even when it's uncomfortable. I've said stuff and had stances and opinions on this show that have ruffled a lot of feathers. I don't do that to chase clicks because it's hurt my clicks in certain areas, but I'm just going to say what I believe. I'm never going to chase clicks. Other shows do that. I don't. Because if I just wanted to chase clicks, I would just be pursuing regular show business, which I had a fine career in and could continue to have a fine career in. But I'm doing this show because I believe it's what's important. You know, and I've always said from day one, I've said, look, you might not agree with me. I might even get it wrong. But know this, I am saying what I believe. I'm not doing it to chase clicks. I'm not doing it to be controversial. I'm not doing it because there's some, producer paying me, or I'm not getting money from a billionaire, which some shows get money from billionaires. Yes, they do. I don't. And I'll be always transparent. Even when I was on Straight Arrow News, like that's been suspended because I think they're having money trouble. But I told you from I'm posting videos on Straight Arrow News. It's owned by a billionaire, but I had a contract that said I can say whatever I want. They can't edit or change anything that I say. So I'm upfront about that. Some other shows are not. So we've been talking about Ukraine. And again, that was something early in the year, I'm like, Russia's never going to invade. This is just, and I was wrong on that. And I did a video saying I was wrong on that. Here's a great example. I was wrong. Totally wrong. Didn't see Russia. I did not expect Russia to do that. I don't like that they're doing it. But I've also shown you that the US media is that we're pushing our own propaganda. Is the Russia pushing propaganda? Absolutely. In Russia, you can't call it a war. It's a special military operation. That's propaganda. That's fine. That's what they're doing. But I've shown you that it's all about money. And Ukraine, unfortunately, and the people of Ukraine are being used by the West, specifically America, to just further more war because it's good for money. And I'm going to show you these U.S. generals and the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, basically saying this war in Ukraine is going to just drag on. That's what they want. That's their end game, is a long, protracted war in Ukraine that just because we're spending all this money. Who's benefiting? The military-industrial complex. That's all that. Look at Afghanistan. Afghanistan wasn't about freedom or stopping the 9/11. It was 20 years. We spent $3.5 trillion over 20 years. 4 presidents from both political parties did that for 20 years. And the only debate we hear from the 2 political parties and their media surrogates, Fox and MSNBC, is, boy, they just didn't do war correctly. The debate is never no war. Why are we spending money on war? It's always like, we're not doing war the right way. Like, war is happening no matter what. We just got to do it the right way. So anyway, this is them basically telling you this war in Ukraine is going to go on for years. That's what they want. Just war because we keep spending money and working class kids, working class Russian, Ukrainian kids. And I showed you a video of a U.S. mercenary went over there and said, don't go, this is awful. There's just one video, but like they rope you into this sentiment and stand with Ukraine and stop the bad guys or whatever. In Russia, they're like, we got to stop the Nazis in Ukraine. And so who gets working class kids go to war while rich people profit from it? This is as old as time itself. So here's a bunch of rich guys talking about this war is going to go on forever.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Joint Chiefs Chairman Mark Milley are on Capitol Hill today. They're testifying before the House Armed Services Committee about defense spending for the next year. And between raging inflation and the war in Ukraine, next year's budget is expected to be historically high.
Raging inflation. But military gets whatever they want. And this guy, that's the closest you'll get from the corporate media saying, why are we spending this? He's never going to say that. Because Boeing and Raytheon, all these people spend money on this. This guy's never going to, no one at MSNBC or CNN or Fox, no one's ever going to go, why are we spending all this money? No one's going to say that.
NBC News Pentagon correspondent Courtney Kuby is joining us now. So Courtney, what are we hearing so far from Secretary Austin and from General Milley today about Ukraine?
So the biggest headline that we've heard so far came from General Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, where he said that he is actually in favor of permanent U.S. military facilities in some of these Eastern European countries.
Ding, 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 ding. Oh, shit. You know, the boys at Boeing just jumped through it. Yeah, high-fiving. I'm sorry, that's sexist because the CEO of Boeing and Raytheon, they're all women. So the boys and girls over there high-fiving. Oh, we did it. Payday, payday. They just went, all those women CDs just went, yay, go, you go, girl.
Around Ukraine. But he caveated by saying he doesn't think that it would be most efficient to have permanent U.S. forces there, but rather to have rotational forces. And that's because, frankly, it's just a lot cheaper to have rotational forces. When you're talking about a permanent military presence there, then you have families. You have to have things like PXs. You have to have exchange. You have to have military daycares built. So if you have a rotational forces, people who go in for 6 months, maybe a year, even a little bit longer than in some cases, it's cheaper, but it has the same deterrent effect.
So we're already talking about 6 months to a year. That's the cheaper version. just so you understand that correctly. Long-term basis, it's too expensive because we have daycare and PXs and McDonald's. But just send them in for 6 months to a year. That's the cheaper version. This is how the U.S. military does it. Like, no, we're not going to have Ferrari do a custom-made RV. We're just going to buy 3 Ferraris. I mean, we're not nuts here.
To Russia. We didn't hear a whole lot new operational about what's going on in Ukraine beyond what we've been hearing in the past several days from other defense officials, including from John Kirby at the podium yesterday. But we did get a little bit more of a sense of sort of what is happening there and what the U.S. or what the Ukrainian military is facing in Ukraine. Here's what they had to say.
Forces that are optimized to fight in rural, wooded, rolling hill type terrain are going to have very, very difficult times in urban terrain. And that proved true. And that's one of the reasons why the Russians are withdrawing from Kyiv, because they couldn't mass the combat power to seize Kyiv.
Just because you have the capability, it doesn't mean that you're going to overwhelm another force easily.
They didn't talk too much about what they see the Russian military doing in the next coming days, other than to say they concur with the idea that they may be focusing more on the Donbass in the days ahead.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top.
Shut up. China, Russia, right? So these are all the bases surrounding China. I just wanted to show you this. Oh, those are our bad guys. There are not these many bases, Chinese bases surrounding America. There's no Chinese bases or Russian bases surrounding. Here's all the American bases surrounding Russia. There's the Ukraine. It's just too far. We got to get closer. We got to get closer. Historic, the guy at the top of the piece, the segment, the top of the segment, he goes, historic spending, $773 billion. It's nuts. It's nuts.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy.
This is a guy from 2015.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez.
Predicting that this would all happen.
And viewers around the country and around the world. As negotiations over the crisis in Ukraine begin in Geneva, tension is rising in eastern Ukraine after security forces killed 3 pro-Russian separatists, wounded 13, and took 63 captive in the city of Mariupol. Ukrainian officials said the pro-Russians had attempted to storm a military base. The fighting comes just after the collapse of a Ukrainian operation to retake.
This is in 2015.
Eastern towns. On Wednesday, pro-Russian separatists took control of some of their armored vehicles, and crowds surrounded another column, forcing the troops to hand over the pins from their rifles and retreat. Earlier today, Russian President Vladimir Putin accused the authorities in Kiev of plunging the country into an abyss.
People in eastern Ukraine have started to arm themselves, and instead of realizing that something bad is going on in the Ukrainian state and make any attempts to start a dialogue, the authorities have started to threaten with force even more and unleash tanks and aviation on civilian populations. This is another grave crime of the current Kiev authorities.
No.
I hope it will be possible to realize which hole and which abyss the current authorities are moving towards and dragging the whole country with them. And in this regard, I think the start of today's talks in Geneva is very important. I think it is very important today to think about how to get out of this situation, to offer people a real, not ostentatious, but real dialogue.
Russian President Vladimir Putin speaking on Russian television earlier today.
This 2015. I can show you the whole thing, but you know, there's this academic saying this is bad. In 2015, we're going to push Putin into a war. It'll be bad, but it's bad for the people. It's bad for Americans. It's bad for Ukrainians. It's bad for Russians. It's bad for everybody in the region, but it's not bad for these guys because they buy ad time. This is a Raytheon ad. I've shown you this before. This is Raytheon. This is on MSNBC. I mean,
we see these beautiful pictures at night from the decks of these two U.S. Navy vessels.
That's talking about, I mean, this is just, it's video. It's making money and they paid for it. So this is the top 20 recipients in 2020. This is at opensecrets.org. You can look this up yourself. I'm not even going to put the link in the show notes because I want you to just figure that out yourself. Just go to opensecrets.org. Type in anything. This is the Federal Elections Commission. Any big donations. I think it's like 10 grand or up. Might even be a grand. I can't remember. But anyway, like a $50 donation a regular citizen gives to a politician, that's not recorded. But big money donations they're a matter of public record. And Open Secrets, which is a nonpartisan website, just collects all the data and puts it out there for you. So I just typed in defense industry top recipients for the 2020 election. Joe Biden, 3.1 million. Donald Trump, 2.7. Do you think there was, of course, that we're going to push this Ukrainian conflict? Of course we were, because it's good business. Even Bernie got 800 grand. And then there's all these like senators and Congress people who ran. But we got to stop. We got to stop. And Putin's just this out of control lunatic. And again, I don't like what Putin is doing. I'm against this war. But we just make him into this boogeyman without looking at any other sides of it. We're never allowed, like that interview with Putin, that's from 2015. There's a bunch of current interviews they don't show. Last month, he goes, what if we put Russian bases in Canada? There's no way America would stand for that, he's true. He's right. We went nuts in the 60s over the Cuban Missile Crisis. We went nuts. And we had already put missiles in Turkey. That's the thing they never tell us. I didn't know that growing up. When I was taught the Cuban Missile Crisis in high school, nobody said, oh, by the way, we had already put missiles in Turkey, and Russia was like, well, fuck that. So all these generals and oh boy, and Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, is on the board of directors at Raytheon. Nobody talked about the clear conflict of interest when he got appointed. Everyone just said first black man. Okay, cool. But they should have led with, this is a clear conflict of interest. Having people from the defense industry in the presidential cabinet means they're just going to push for war because they spent it. They spent $49 million just in 2020. Well, it's paying off because guess what? House passes $1.5 trillion spending plan, Ukraine aid in, COVID funding out. This is right after the invasion. They were like, yes, Putin invaded. Yes, you know they were. So you and I have to deal with $5 or $6 a gallon. It's $6 a gallon for gas in California. I was just in Texas. It was like $3.79, but I know that's expensive there. It's $4.80 in Arizona. Whatever price the gas is where you live, it's a lot higher than it was. And they say, oh, 10% inflation, which is already bad enough. It's not 10%. Go to the grocery store. It's 20 to 30%. Your grocery bill is 20 to 30% more than it was. Which means $100 worth of groceries is now costing you $120 to $130. That's a lot of money. A tank of gas that was $40 is now $60. That's a lot of money to average Americans, and we get nothing. We get nothing but more war. Nobody asks how we're going to pay for these wars. Nobody asks it. We want Medicare for all. How are we going to pay for it? And what did Joe Biden and the Democrats, who control the House and the Senate? Graham, why are you so hard on the Democrats? They're in power right now. They also allowed Trump to happen. How are we going to pay for it? We can't even get student debt forgiveness, which doesn't take any tax dollars. It's just the president going, you don't have to pay these federally backed student loans, but you don't have to pay them back. That would infuse trillions of dollars into our economy. People have $300, $400, $500 a month student loan payments. There's people who've had student loan payments for 15, 20 years or longer. Gas is more, food is more, everything's more money, baby formula's more. And you suddenly wouldn't have to pay, your student loan bill? That'd be great. They won't even do that. They just said, we're extending the deadline to August. Now you don't have to, now you can get to, what's going to happen in August? We all win the lottery in August? What happens in August? Is that when the dollar completely collapses? Is that when the housing bubble that I've been talking about for 3 years now finally blows up and the housing market crashes? Is that when there's a run on the banks because of all this money printing and the banks literally do not have as much cash they don't have the physical dollar bills to back up the amount of people that people have in their banks account? So here's what a run on banks happens. Oh, you think you have $5,000 in your bank account? You're going to go to your bank and say, I want to pull that all out. They're going to, no, we can only give you 500. But the military gets whatever they want. Wall Street, record profits, 100 new billionaires created during the pandemic. Wall Street got all these PPP loans that are forgivable. They're forgivable. Small business owners like me, and I'm sure many of you are small business owners, our loans aren't forgivable. I got to pay mine back. You got to pay your back, right? Yeah, I got to pay mine back. There's a lot of money in this. There's a lot of money in this. There's a lot of money in this. All the money, connect the dots, get the truth. Always ask, how are we going to pay for more war? Ask it at your families. Ask it at work. Ask it on social media. How are we going to pay for this? How are we going to pay for this? How are we going to pay for this? Just be that. We have to put our own message out there. How are we going to pay for this? How are we going to pay for this? How are we going to pay for this? Oh, by the way, the environment's collapsing, but at least we're spending more money on Ukraine. Shave your knuckles for justice. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood and go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.